one.
Okay. We'd like to welcome. Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to the May meeting of the Templeton Community Preservation Committee. For those of you who are sitting on channel 8, looking for the stream, you're not seeing anything but snow probably due to technical difficulties. The stream is not available, so the meeting is just going to be on YouTube. So we'll call the meeting to order. Open it up with a discussion of the minutes from April 13th. Now, Jessica has sent a copy of these out, but if anybody would like a little more time to review them before we discuss and vote, that would be fine.
Pending that, I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as written. A second.
Okay, motion made and seconded to approve the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none, we have nobody online, but so we're just going to vote all at once.
Correct.
All those in favor of these minutes signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Unanimously passed. Thank you very much.
That was Monday.
The next item is the admin update from Ms. Jessica.
Monday was the town election. I want to publicly congratulate Mr. Henshaw for getting reelected to the Community Preservation Committee.
It's a nail biter.
Also want to point out to the public that Mr. Brooks, John Brooks, resigned from the Board of Assessors, and thus he is no longer on the Community Preservation Committee, but we want to thank him publicly for his time on the Community Preservation Committee. So thank you to Mr. Brooks as well.
Yes, and to that, he filled out the end of his term.
Did
So
appreciate that.
he only was an assessor for 40 some odd years or
Yep.
or something.
It's about time. My question is, when do you want to reorganize this board?
So we really would like to hear from the assessors if they're going to be able to appoint, so they'll reform. You know, typically we do it in the new fiscal year. So we could be as late as the June meeting or July meeting, but
Yep.
Whatever, what do you guys think?
That's fine.
Mine probably won't go for me until maybe August.
The Historical Commission reappointed me to the seat
Oh,
at our last meeting.
That's good, thank you.
For life.
In our case, it's not that long.
Yeah, so I don't think it's that critical that we reorganize before all the seats are secured, unless there's any, because town meeting in the rear view mirror that I don't.
Right, I know you wanted to get that in the rearview mirror first, and then select board reappointments are on Wednesday. So if that's anybody, like that's Mr. Andrews is going to be reappointed to the Concom on Wednesday. I
Okay,
don't know if that's anybody else as well, but they'll do their reappointments on Wednesday.
very good.
So I got, and then I just have other stuff, but it's under other topics.
Okay.
Yep.
So we'll slide right into the town meeting review. As you all remember, we had 5 project articles and the financial article, all of which passed. Not a whole lot of discussion. Carrie did a nice job explaining that the Dwelly Farm project is indeed going forward, and if you drive by there, if you stop, you'll see the lupins are doing quite well and will be blooming soon. And there's one other plant that seems to be, I don't know what it's called, but I don't know if you've looked at it either, but it's kind of yellowish leaves, but it seems to be growing.
Yeah, it's tough right now because it's dry. So.
And to your point, they're not tall enough to maybe be seen by the road.
Right,
They're not
they
corn
may need
stalks.
to actually get out of the car and look.
So we're looking forward to another project with the North County Land Trust. We are putting together the grant award agreement. Jessica has drafted one based on what we've done in the past and when it's gone through town council. So we will get that out to them as well as to the Historical Society, which is the other non-municipal entity that was awarded a project that would be for the ADA compliant bathrooms. So that's going forward. Then there are the cupola projects, which will really be spearheaded by the
DPW.
Public Works
Yep.
and Bob Zozick. The pickleball / tennis court redo at Gilman Way through Parks and Recreation. And just since we're talking about Parks and Recreation, the great progress is being made on the bathrooms there. We've seen an invoice there for some of the stuff.
Yeah, the plumber, I seen a bunch, I could see Pete tonight, and I could see he brought a lot of piping and stuff in the other, and this, it looks like he did new things that we didn't have the other day, so.
Yeah, so they've got like the hand dryers is what they.
Yeah, the
said.
hand dryers are in, the lights are in, yeah.
So that's good, getting to be exciting towards that. They'll probably, once that's done, maybe the select board will want to have a joint meeting with the rec committee to do a grand opening or something. Invite your, congressman or whatever.
These are the bathrooms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Flush them simultaneously. Okay, and so then there's also the project that will enable a trail towards the Baptist Common Cemetery off of Baldwinville Road on the town-owned land. I did have somebody come up to me after the meeting and said, well, how about getting some volunteer work? How, spend all that money. And so the thing to remember is by voting an article, we are approving a maximum expenditure for that article. If we're able to engage volunteers to reduce costs because the Boy Scouts want to do a project or something like that, that just reduces the dollars that we spend, and any unspent dollars just goes back to the source fund from where they came. So we're certainly open and receptive to that. And am I forgetting one?
Nope, just the one about all the money.
Yeah, and then
That
all
was
the
that one.
money thing is, really a formality because it
Right.
really depends on what comes in. Any questions or comments about the town meeting?
Hmm.
Okay, and as we know, the next town meeting will be the fall town meeting. At our town meeting, it was brought to my attention or a question regarding could CPA funds be used to create ball fields on by the Little League field for the Cal Ripken League, because it's not on town-owned land. And if it is a town project within the town, that would likely be eligible, but I told them we have to do some research and then.
By the Army or engineers.
Army
or
Corps,
something.
yeah. So they've got a long-term lease to that, and that's what the Little League field, and they do have approval, I believe, to put another
Well,
field in.
the town, our town has our own Hooten Park field that we need some TLC on that, because we're trying to
Yeah.
get a grant for.
So certainly there will be more things to discuss for the fall town meeting, including, revisiting the First Church of Templeton, and other things, which we'll talk about coming up of the current projects. So that's a town meeting review. Next, we will slide to the CPC finances.
So this is the budget versus actual from April.
The one thing I will note is that you remember last month, we voted to close out the Grange Hall budget that had no $0 in it. And then the town accountant said, well, we don't have to do that because there's no money. We only have to vote to close them if there's funds remaining.
Oh, I see.
So,
And then this one is the new projects that you've got. So this will eventually go on the sheet that you have, but I just got.
yeah, so you see, she creates an account, and that is specifically ties that dollar figure as being available for that project. And when we do a vendor warrant, we'll reference that account. So for the town-owned projects, which is the cemetery is going to be the lead on that project with DPW. The Grange, the cupola will be the DPW, and then the tennis courts will be Parks and Rec and DPW. So DPW obviously already has enough work to deal with, getting the roads paved, et cetera, et cetera. So I did see our director and indicated that since we now have some wonderful support, that we will do everything we can to facilitate getting these through the hoops, because you have to go through all the processes of dealing with.
Well,
a lot
some of
people.
these, some of these will be out to bid, so they would go to someone other than maybe they're doing it.
Ultimately, all the bid documentation needs to go through the procurement officer, chief procurement officer, which I don't know if it's still Adam or if he's signed up as somebody else that. So,
So-
yeah, and we're there to support and help in any way we can to move it forward. And then, did you have so the other thing that we need to do is we last year we voted to create the admin assistant position.
Yeah.
And that money is paid for out of the administrative budget, which has now been approved for the next year. And I don't know if you have that figure right in front of you, but I think it's 24,000 for the
Sounds about
admin
right.
budget. And so what we need to do is to vote to commit those funds if we want to retain the services of Jessica going forward to the same level. And so we have a figure based strictly on time.
Talking about this number?
Yeah.
Yeah.
$25,500 is what the town meeting article, approved.
Right.
Basically, that's based on projected revenue, so it really is 5% of our projected revenue, of our actual revenue in the future. So we have approximately $25,000, which allows us to support administrative projects and fill the gaps of some things to move them forward.
That's also your fees, your annual fees and dues and stuff like that,
Yeah,
right?
so for the $875 we pay to the Community Preservation Coalition. And then other things we have spent in the past that help projects move forward for the town, like an assessor, a survey or something like that. So Jess, you came up with a figure, working with Lori of, was it 8,350?
Something like that, yeah.
So what I would like to do is to allocate, and so I asked too, because that's strictly based on the hours paid, and the position was folded into a full-time role, which includes benefits, and the town has picked up the full benefit package rather than splitting it out and not charging us for the 20% of it, because we're basically 8 hours of the 40. Is it 40 or 30?
27.
27, okay. And so, and any supplies and supports have actually been through the developmental services budget as well.
Correct.
So really what we want to do is to make sure we're committing to the funds. And did you reconfirm that number?
I just redid it now. I think that's probably the max it would be.
Yeah.
What did you get? 8.3?
$8,350.
Probably be the max, yeah.
So I would like to entertain a motion to commit $8,350 from the next fiscal year's administrative budget to continue to pay for an administrative assistant 8 hours a week for the next fiscal year.
I'll make that motion, yeah.
Motion
Fight over it.
moved and seconded by Mike and Carrie. Any discussion?
Just one
No.
thing, what does that leave for a balance? That account?
That would leave approximately $17,000.
Okay, so that would be. Most
Yeah.
of our.
Yeah, historically, we've never really spent more than 4 or 5.
Yeah, because we started out, I think it was like 9,000.
Yeah, yeah,
so-
and because of the course, the increased
Yeah.
tax base of the town has increased. And once again, that we are basing our projections on as if we were to receive that 100% match, which we have gotten 8 out of the last 9 years. There is a pending legislation or request to put $30 million towards the trust fund to boost that up through the legislature, which, we as a small town in a 3% community have been able to get much more than the base match, which was around 27% last year. And so we hope that's continuing to be the case. So we have motion made and seconded for $8,350 from the administrative budget to pay for the ongoing services provided by the administrative assistant. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote on this because there's money involved. All those in favor, George,
Yes.
Dennis,
Yes,
I vote yes. Mike,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Candace,
Yes.
yes. Okay, unanimous, 6-0. Thank you very much.
Just glad to be back on board, team.
Okay, we're certainly glad to have you.
And pause for that.
All right, is there any other things, any other questions or comments or discussion on the finances? Okay.
no.
Moving on to current projects, we have had a discussion, as you recall, the town approved for an expenditure of up to $9,000 to begin the process of developing the expected needs to redo the Baldwinville Fire Station, to historically rehabilitate it to the 3-bay configuration and to make it more amenable to the 21st century. So it could be used by the Templeton Emergency Management Association or whatever they're called. TEMA. And so we had a phone call and the contractor was awarded. We had spoke about it last month and there was an approval contingent upon having a discussion about mechanical, electrical and safety systems. So we did have that discussion with the Icon architect firm that had been approved through the town for fulfilling the role. So we had a Zoom call, and sitting in on that call, besides Jessica and myself, was also Rich Curtis, who is the director of TEMA, and Adam Lamontagne, the town administrator. So that project, $9,000 with an engineering firm, will get us to a roughed out scope and estimated costs. It will not provide bid-ready documentation or anything like that, but it will also give you an estimate of what associated engineering would be required for a project of that scope. We had some, basic conversations in the past that this type of a rehabilitation, following all the appropriate codes and et cetera, could cost several $100,000, 3 or 4. So we want everybody to be, and that's why we asked the townspeople for the permission to spend the $9,000 to bring it to the next step, which will allow us to figure out what is the big bite going to be and what is the payback return, et cetera, et cetera. So that's where that stands. The hope being is that, they'll pull us together. They're looking to do a site visit and I did not see that Rich responded, so I did not respond back.
Talked to him just before I came in
Okay.
tonight. He was planning on being at that meeting at the building.
Okay, so
I think it's Wednesday morning, 10:30.
Yep.
yeah, and so we need to, and I wish that we would have gotten it to him because obviously this is the person traveling from afar and has a full slate. And I forgot to remind, said I would be there, but it was important that Rich was there, so we need to let him know we will be there. But you're off tomorrow, right? So I can try to send him an email.
I'll do it after the meeting.
That would be wonderful. Okay, and anybody else that wants to come to, I think, is it this Wednesday or, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And so basically that'll be their first visit to go through there and look at the grand scheme of things and moving forward. Other current projects, as I noted, great progress has been made at Gilman in the bathrooms. Did you want to say anything more about that?
About the bathrooms?
About that project, et cetera? Yeah.
Oh, just that they, this week was the week that we finally supposed to get the plumber to come in and start. Because he had finally gotten bonded. The electrician had done some things. And they came back again to look at other things and it's just gonna take what it takes. I mean.
Yeah, the fact is that they've got to this point is good, and once they get to work, they'll hammer it out so they can get paid.
Yeah.
Great. What other current projects? We did have conversations with, have ongoing discussions with the Historical Society about the finishing of their last grant. We want them to finish that out. Similarly with North County Land Trust, they have a balance. I believe you had that thing was like $11,000.
Mhm.
But they needed to see what kind of invoices they had. The objective will be to clean out, finish up with those past projects and zero those out and then roll into the new ones,
It's funny because they were reporting, I was on a finance committee meeting today with them. And they're reporting like a balance of 2, so they must have some bills that they need to. submit
Yeah,
or
because I
something.
think that was the case. So I think it was because we caught Emily before she had a chance to talk to your fiscal guy. Your
Okay.
Fiscal person of North County Land Trust. Who would have, because they did feel there were some pending invoices. So we'll work on that and get that cleaned up next week or so.
Do you want the support letter? You want to do that in this topic?
Yeah, so also under current projects is the Scout Hall project. Okay,
Other than that.
so you remember our last meeting, we discussed and unanimously voted. So I drafted a letter, and rather than sending it directly to them, it turns out that they don't need it until Monday. So I thought I'd give everybody a chance to hear before we send it, in case you want me to add anything more. Now I could read this if people wanted to.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this is to the Templeton Select Board from the CPC. Dear Select Board members, at the April meeting of the Templeton Community Preservation Committee, motion was made, seconded, and unanimously approved to recommend that the future use of Scout Hall include accommodation of space and access for the Templeton Community Television, TCTV. The CPC acknowledged that the Select Board is responsible for town buildings and their use. It was noted by CPC members that the original request for CPA funds, see attached, and we will attach the proposal to the for their packet, references the important role TCTV could play for the town given appropriate space. TCTV has also indicated it can allocate funds from its budget to support TCTV use at Scout Hall. Housing TCTV would not preclude other uses for Scout Hall, but would provide a home for what continues to be an important resource for the residents of Templeton through its broadcasts of open meetings and other town-related activities. The CPC would be happy to meet with the Select Board to discuss this further if requested. We understand the bidding process is complete for the funds remaining following the second appropriation of $50,000. The CPC supports completing this work in a manner that can address projected use and remains open to further discussion should other potential project work arise. You know, they believe what they've got for bidding will allow them to wrap up the electrical and some of the other work, but they do project there may be a well, Bob was estimating they might get an additional $10,000. Bob's over. How is this letter? Is this missing anything or need some editing?
That's fine.
Basically, you know, the fact that TCTV has really kept this town going through COVID, thanks to the broadcasting of meetings, and now it's a regular event for people to be able to tune into meetings such of
Mhm.
boards such as this, where, you know, matters of the town are discussed. So it
They
would be
even
nice
did
if
the
they
other-
have a space. Yes.
Oh, they did their little TV show thing. That was like giving us some news. That was lovely. And I just think that other like organizations that we have in town, like the kids, like when they talk about the scouts, I feel like they could benefit by having the TV station there. They could do like a scout program or something with them. I think it'd be lovely that they could have the space to do things like that. I mean, I wish we would have had that during the actual COVID to have programs like that.
Yeah, okay, well, thank you. Yeah, so going forward, we will submit this letter. They are discussing this in the bidding on their 24th of June meeting. I will not be able to attend that meeting if they request, because that is graduation day for me to attend. Any other discussion?
Well, yeah, I didn't tune into the meeting until like halfway through this discussion. So in a nutshell, is there a question as to whether TCTV would be allowed to use that building? Is that where the genesis of this letter?
This project was voted in 2016,
Mhm.
and they have never expressly stated what the intended use would be. So it's kind of left uncertainty as to whether TCTV would be there or not.
Okay,
There's just a decision has not been made, to my understanding, by the board.
okay, okay.
And
But-
so we are just recommending that they choose to ensure that they are included there.
But it did come to our attention that the original application process, TCTV was included in that to use the facility. So on the vote, I feel like, my personal opinion, the vote was, given and taken to make it. It was based on that information saying that TCTV would use it. So
Yeah,
and then it went to the floor and the people voted to give them the money for that first round.
yeah. I mean, I was here in
I think-
2016, so I remember that we expected that to be one of the uses,
I think
so,
we need to put a heavy emphasis on that fact.
okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, that was a good point that you made, Dennis, that, this is the source of funding. And so I believe that the prudent, and responsible members will do appropriate, because I don't know. It's just a matter of getting it done.
when are they meeting again?
They're meeting a week, the 24th of May.
This was in May?
Wednesday,
So,
Wednesday next week.
It's a Wednesday, yeah. They meet on Wednesdays. That day will also be the day they're talking, I believe, about the potential reuse of Temple Stewart for an incinerator. So that could be a interesting meeting. Which, so I wish I could go to that, but my daughter's graduating, so I gotta go to that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That was important.
I guess we understand that.
Okay, so we're gonna, any other current projects or anything that we want to discuss?
Do we have to sign the letter? Do we sign the letter?
Well, you authorized me to send it. There was a couple typos in it, so we have to
Oh.
redraft.
Okay. I just wondered.
I want to get it over to them ASAP. So it says it's from me. I mentioned that we voted, so
Okay.
it is from us.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay, well, next on the list is our potential projects. Obviously, fall town meeting is coming, not to mention the projects that we have of updating our documentation and our community preservation plan and having another needs analysis meeting and all those other things we have in the coming year. Did anybody have anything? I mean, and the other thing to remember is we just bid off 5 projects that we really need to actively support going forward. And
So at the last Ag Commission meeting in April, we discussed the town-owned property that CPC funded. That's Dudley Road, right?
yeah,
And kind of our concern on the property, what could be done with that property, or something to at least make the property look better, or, we really aren't sure. We need to do a site visit, but it seems to me that in the realm of open space, perhaps we could put together a project to do something with that property. It seems like it would be an eligible purpose.
yes, as long as it complies with the conservation restriction that's on
Yeah.
that land and is held by Fish and Wildlife, but there could be other things like a landowner incentive program where you're generating habitat for birds and things like that, or any other number of things. So that's a great idea. It is just an old abandoned sand pit.
Mhm.
You
That's what
know,
they were talking about, is there really isn't a lot of habitat going on down there. So, all right, so we'll discuss that further at our.
Property was that?
it used to be across the street from where they were gonna do that asphalt
Down by
plant.
Lawrence's.
Lawrence is next to Lawrence's
Okay.
on the left-hand side. It's just after the sets. And it's actually where Cook Road extension comes out, if you came down Cook Road.
Yeah.
And we did get, the town did prohibit access by putting in that big barrier. That was a good thing a few years ago, because there's probably some stuff in there that needs to be removed, and that might be a good effort to recruit scouts and whoever's interested, because I think there's probably some stuff that needs to be cleaned up, but a walk down there would be good.
Yeah, okay, all right.
Yeah, anything like that, and then certainly we still need to talk, and perhaps, I don't know if the whole Houghton Park scenario, maybe we could, once you guys get reorganized.
Well, so Jackie in the administrator's office, there was a possible grant opportunity and she was looking into trying to do it, but I don't know. She's never done a grant before. So, the grant talks about cities, but in that grant is actually provision for small towns. And in that grant, in that small town provision is a thing about redoing like a park. And it talks about all the things, like even including like possibly the driveway. So, I mean, so right now in rec, we've had some issues with our softball, with the school and with the rec department, with the teams, because we really need that fourth softball field that we don't have. And Houghton Park, it's sitting right there. The problem is it's overgrown and nobody's taking care of it. It has a drainage issue. It needs new fencing. And then you have the park equipment where the swings and stuff are like so ancient and they're peeling. And so, but it has this lovely gazebo, a bad parking lot. And then you have that front end with all the memorials that, everybody wants it to be a heroes park in that front end. And so, I mean, it really needs some attention in town. It's not very lovely there at all. We need to do something as a town to fix it up, because that's people's neighborhood that park is in, and people could be using it right now. It looks like they were trying to play like basketball in it. I mean, they could use a little basketball court with the new swings and the new field and then the front end for a nice memorial for heroes, for not just veterans, but for like, you know, fire or the police or something for our town. That would be nice to have that. And I think it's a great project that our town, we should look at as a town to possibly, but we really like, if there's anybody out there that wants to help us with trying to get this, the grant is July 13th, and we're trying to figure out how to do this.
If I'm not mistaken, at town meeting, I think Adam brought up the fact that they were trying to find a grant writer for the town.
Yeah,
Wasn't that brought up?
Mike Carey brought it up.
yeah.
Yes.
And I sat in
They
interviews
had,
for that.
They had an open position for it and had one person apply and didn't accept, so they are trying to put more money into it to get somebody.
Yeah, I
We get a
sat-
lot of,
It's an art.
yeah,
too.
I mean, there's so many grants for everything, for conservation, for everything that comes across. Nobody's like a subject matter expert in doing it. You need to hire somebody to do it. There's a lot of money out there. That we could get.
It does take a lot of work and, you know, to hunker down and do it. It's tough to ask
Yeah.
volunteers to pull it together. That is a tight timeline.
Yeah.
But when you have this big one within this small little thing, within this thing that is actually, because the small thing also talks about buying land, and then it has a thing, so it's very overwhelming to, you have to
Yeah.
really like look at that where you're looking. That's what I told her. I said, you have to just look at what you need to do, not don't erase all that other stuff, because it's not the grant that you're applying for.
So to that end, I mean, yes, that would be great if you could pull it together and get a proposed grant together. There will be other grant opportunities down the road. Maybe the town will be better able to support it. One thing that we could do is the same phased approach that we're kind of taking with the Baldwinville Fire Station, is to identify what kind of money would be required to hire a professional firm, an engineering firm, to design and estimate what it would cost to do a project, rather than just saying, well, we want to do this, that, and the other thing, but
Right.
actually,
Yeah.
you know, get it designed and come to a consensus between the different boards that have interest in it. And if it costs, you know, $30,000 or whatever, those funds are available through this committee, through a town meeting warrant article that would get us closer to that, because there's nothing, bid ready documents, you know, don't expire, costs change, but, you know, engineering, it's you put the effort in to follow the code and the requirements, you know, that's a lasting value.
Well, that park needs that. What you just
It-
said, we
it-
need to
it
get
does.
that.
Well, the issue is, so who has the action item? I mean, so we keep saying somebody's gotta do this, somebody's gotta do that, but who is that person we're gonna be? Is the recreation committee gonna take that on? Or do we have to get a third party in town to take that on? A veterans organization to take that on? Who is the,
Sounds like another DPW project
Yeah.
that they're,
Yeah.
they're
Yeah.
quite overwhelmed
yes,
Yeah,
right now, but
so,
Yeah.
Just a point of clarification for myself. Is, when you say Heroes Park, are you referring to in conjunction as Veterans Park? Or is it-
it's so so apparently what was brought to my attention is that Hooten Park is named after, what is it, Commissioner?
Roger Houghton.
Roger,
Right,
Houghton,
it was
Yeah.
fire.
Right, fire, so that's why they thought, because it has the veteran memorial in there too. So I guess they wanted to tie that in together, so that's what the thinking was. It was something was pushed, I believe, through the previous veterans office. You know, they wanted to talk about it being a hero's park. I mean, I think that's, being a memorial, I think there's a memorial down there for him, and then you have the veterans aspect in the front end of it.
Okay,
Yeah,
so the veterans haven't given up their initial interest, so.
they don't, we
there's
just
been a
don't
lot
have the
of
veterans
discussion
office
about
right
where to
now, so.
locate this. Initially, they were gonna put it in Elm Street. In the,
Right.
uh,
And then they
and then they
decided
said they
otherwise
didn't
to
wanna be
move
there.
possibly to
So
the
now
outer
this is
river,
their
so-
second venue they're looking.
Yeah, we just didn't want to overstep in Parks and Rec about that front end, because we don't have a problem with them, having that, because we believe it's important to have that. But we're more concerned about the swings and having a basketball in the back end, and having the ball field redone and the fencing. But it's also, we look at it this way, where you have this memorial, this lovely park in the front end. And so if people are not, it's not like somebody just passing by. So you have action and life going on behind it. And then you have this, so you have two things happening within one park. And it makes it an interesting you know, thing that not unforgettable, those that they're honoring in this hero park in the front end. I
Yeah,
mean,
so that may,
Veterans were, had, initially had quite an interest in
yeah,
following through on this, but I guess the plan is kind of falling.
well, and the veterans agent has turned over, and I don't know if we currently have one.
no,
We don't.
we don't. So I mean, that probably makes it difficult right now because they don't have somebody to spearhead it on their end.
And a veterans agent has a lot of responsibility serving
Yeah,
the veterans. So I think maybe we need to throw it back to the town administrator to get a recommendation as to who we should pull together. When there was a discussion in the past, you know, we do need an action item. We need an identified lead.
Because the light department, like they redid the gazebo, like they fixed the gazebo up, because they have a vested interest in it too. You know, we just don't want in parks to step on anybody who has these things that they wanted. But we just want to make sure that like, we really like the ball field done and the swings and things for the kid, you know, for that neighborhood. It truly needs it.
Well, even to that end, we could, if we had a discussion with the Board of Select Board and said, okay, here's the parcel, the two parcels, there's two different parcels there, but they're all one piece of land.
Yeah.
We would like to say, let's allocate this for first responders, veterans, heroes park. This includes, this is the playground area and the gazebo and the, you know, monument to Mr. Houghton, and this is rec. Ball field, basketball, lighting, how do we, you know, if you kind of can map out where the spaces would be, then you have at least.
It sounds like they need to appoint somebody to take a leadership role. Somebody maybe other than Bob, because Bob is overwhelmed already, so. Somebody that could take a leadership role and bring all of these things
And
together.
the light company did have a lot of interest and they did already spend some money, so we should certainly.
Yeah, I mean, it looks just like what you're saying is we need like that engine, like that somebody to come in and design what the vision is for it.
So perhaps, yes,
There was the guy that designed River's Edge. Remember, he took the whole, I forget who it is, I can look it up, but
Well, that's
the
right too,
town, yeah, the town hired
Yeah.
I forget what his name
a
was.
landscape architect.
Yeah.
I forget.
yeah,
But essentially drew out River's Edge where the path was gonna go. It's gonna look like a fish and this is what we're gonna have here and that. So I mean, like, maybe that would
Yeah.
be a
He
good
came from
contact.
Boston, was it?
Huh?
He was from Boston?
I believe he was from Boston.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think-
well, can you,
Yeah.
and so we
Try
also
to find
know,
that, you know, because I mean, if it's a park, maybe they could lay out a certain section for the veterans, a certain section for parking, a certain section for this, blah, 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 you know, like a whole layout.
right, because the parking part was like
Right.
the fourth quadrant.
Yeah.
We're all assuming it's gonna end up in the same place. They might come in and change the whole layout. So, I mean, you hire a person to do the job.
Right.
Let them do their job
okay.
and submit. And then you like it, you don't like it, make suggestions for changes, but you gotta have somebody driving the
Okay.
project. And right now, we don't have anybody driving the project, so.
Right.
Well, I've got some
Talking
things
about
written down
nothing.
that I can ask Adam and I can report back.
Yeah, and so what we could even, you know, go so far as to, you know, vote to express interest to Adam. And so basically what we would like to hear from Adam is like, because he's worked with these different firms, like the one that did River's Edge, and then Icon is the one that's working with us now for the Baldwinville fire station thing. It's like, we really would like to get an idea of what the design and engineering costs would be for a multi-use Houghton Park that would support, you know, all of these different interests and then could be funded through CPA monies. So can you reach out to him about that? Does that seem to be?
Yeah, that's
What is
like,
River's Edge? Is that
That's the one across from the fire station in Baldwinville on the river, next to Payne.
yeah, because we're Parks and Rec, but we're just new to all of it. So to like the part, we just want to be helpful and figure out how to like I
River's
said, I
Edge
was just down there.
Was
the other
gonna
day,
be
and
the
somebody needed
veterans
some-
park, and then when they
Question
gave
I
up
have, has
conservation.
anybody ever done anything with the ball fields like down in
No.
Baldwinville on Maple Street? Do you do anything with that?
What ball fields?
It's a ball field that I'm on Maple Street, right at the end, and the kids. in
Where the
down there
town
used to
hall
be
was
there.
for a couple
And
years.
there's also one down here in East Templeton off one of the side streets.
Oh,
Bullshit.
over here, well, I don't know what a ball field, I mean, I know we have Cottage
Talking
Lane
about
Park.
Little-
Yeah, see, that's a different kettle of fish because that's Army Corps land and it's
Yeah.
my understanding that Parks and Rec does not have a role in the Little League or the
No,
Cal
we
Wrestling
don't.
League, right?
No, that's a
I didn't know
nonprofit
those.
organization that runs
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's where somebody approached me, like maybe could they do a project on that with CPA? And I said, please send me a note and we'll research it. I don't know why it wouldn't be.
Are they
There
a
isn't-
profit?
Right, if they're a
I realize
nonprofit.
people don't know that ball field was even there.
I don't know.
And ball fields are certainly, I mean, there was a lot of activity going on with baseball and softball.
Yeah,
Organized.
but you gotta watch it with non, you have to make sure that all their stuff, their ducks and everything's on
Yeah.
now too, their certificates are up to par.
Right, and I don't know if the Cal Ripken falls under Little League or is it? a Templeton?
I used to be on the board of directors of the league. So Cal Ripken is a totally different or separate organization than Little League.
Okay,
We used to be Little League in Templeton and they dropped Little League and moved to Cal Ripken. And so there's two standalone. The land down with that Little League field is Army Corps of Engineers land that they built those fields on. It still is Army Corps land. There are a lot that they pay a lease of some sort of
And
dollar lease.
there was also that land that where Ames used to live between the 2 row,
Yes.
101 and.
right, which is somewhat remote and we've talked about
Oh, yeah,
often,
that's
but you
very
know, in the
good, yeah.
potential for vandalism and things like that, the
Yeah,
parks
they've
at that
never done
time.
anything with it, so.
Like I said, we just had, we had practice last week and I got phone calls because there wasn't enough fields. There's too many teams for the girls, for the softball program. So I mean,
Templeton also.
so and I was like, well, we have Wood Park, but I'm like, you guys wanna go over there and you see what you can do with it, cause it's really.
Is there
it's
competing
all
fields
ingrown.
with Gilman with the high school?
Yeah, some of it's that, and some of it's just that if you have multiple teams, but they want practice time, everybody wants practice time at this, 5 o'clock, you got you only have 3 fields to go around and so much time blocked to go around. And it's just like when you do the math, it's really like that 4th field, it's like, yeah, I wish we would have had, like, somebody would have took care of it. That's all I think
How about
about.
Center school, get rid of that.
That's what happened to Templeton.
I mean, know.
Yeah, so that's in like East Hamilton Field would also need to be rejuvenated. It's kind of small and, there are, I don't know where other fields are. Has there ever been any approaching like Phillipston? I don't know if they've maintained their fields.
Well,
that's
they're actually, the nonprofit is actually taking care of that backfield and behind the school there. Yeah. They've gotten like local businesses to help them too. I mean, a lot of their funding for that has come from local businesses and stuff too. I mean, I think we've gotten that some local businesses to help with some of the stuff like Gilman Wheat over the past years and stuff. I guess they're putting together a list because we want to try to do something with everything when the bathrooms are done to honor all the things that have happened in there. To mention all the different, I guess there's so many that hopefully we can find them all. So everybody's out there, knows all the names, we send them our way.
Okay, so we will at least reach out to Adam
Yes.
about the Houghton Park, getting
Will do.
that to coalesce, and then
Yep.
we'll keep talking about other things and ideas with people.
Yep.
Anything else anybody want to talk about for potential projects? Okay, new business, any new business? Is there anything that I've forgotten?
We have an audience member. You don't know what-
Did you have any business you wanted to bring?
Okay. Just
Just show up.
For a night out.
Is there any old business that we need to address?
Should I mention that I was reappointed by the historical commission? We talked about it earlier, but I don't know if that goes into new or old or.
Yes, that is, that would be for the good of the order. Good to have you back. And then hopefully now, because there'll be 2 new assessors. So hopefully they'll be able to appoint anybody. We'll reach out again to the housing authority. And then you're bringing it up with
I'll bring it up with.
Yep.
planning, and then the appointments for Concom
Got
will be
canceled
next
next week.
week.
Cancel.
No agenda.
Well, from what I understood today, they're not gonna reappoint me until this June 12th meeting of the select. Board.
Okay.
I was sent a note through Holly.
Okay. I'll write that down.
Okay, so we'll do a reorganization either at the next meeting, which is slated for June 8th, not that far away, because we had to move this one out, or it could be after that.
Just one question. So
Yeah.
How are we doing on the Baptist Common? Do you know when we're gonna start on that?
Certainly, we do not know, but basically, we will be alerted as to the progress. Right now, basically, it'll have to be, go out to bid and all this and all that, and so we can get over there and walk. And do you want to be obviously you're right there, so,
So we'll see across the street from me.
yeah. But we're gonna be relying on Bob, and then there's all this other discussion you hear about other, issues related to other potential uses, but we need to be, and then we need to approach the neighborhood.
Yeah, I saw Bob at some point this weekend. He and I discussed like alerting or, announcing it to the neighbors, setting like an abutters notification of some sort.
Right, and then we'll also be working with cemetery commissioners on this,
Yeah.
because, that's part of the whole deal is the access to that. So we want it to be a neighborhood friendly, not
Oh, absolutely.
out of the, not, any grand,
Yeah.
Great Wall of China or anything.
And having that curb cut already out there works so good.
Yeah, it's a great spot, and, and hopefully, and then there'll need to be some tree work, trail work, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
And, so, all these things now, I mean, the easy part's voting these projects. Now that work comes. Okay, so our next meeting is June 8th, 7 PM. And, does anybody else have anything they want to bring to the?
I might be a little late depending, the farmer's market starts Thursday, week from today.
Okay. Yeah, so it's 7 o'clock meeting and, sure, that's
So I think all the members of this committee got a thing from Mr. Stewart about the CPA trust fund. So they're looking for legislative support, and they're asking us to contact our Senate's office and talk to them, the Senator's office, about amendment number 66 under the Community Preservation Trust Fund. And any of the people in the listening audience who support the activities of this group and the monies that we're investing in the town should also reach out to their state senator and mention to him amendment number
Sure.
66 of her about there is a $30 million state budget surplus fund heading towards CPC. So those funds, or some portion of those funds, would be available to the town of Templeton. So if anybody's interested in helping, that's one way they could help.
great, thank you. That is under information sharing. It's not advocacy, I don't believe. I mean, that's kind of a fine line that I don't really know. But that is true. This is it's for the good of the Community Preservation Fund, which is where we get up to $250,000 a year with 100% match.
Oh, I had my thing.
Okay.
This. This thing, did you need this back?
Sure, did you work on it?
Yeah, I worked on it.
Okay.
Well, my writing's not very good, so I don't know if you.
No, that's great.
Okay, well, we're going to continue to work on these as we go forward, and thank you very much, Candace. We are working on our community preservation plan. And Candace is taking the bull by the horns with the
What, you haven't seen
recreation
my,
portion of it.
you haven't seen my writing, you're gonna be like, it's probably very helpful.
Maybe do we want to plan to talk about updates to that at the next meeting? Talk about the community preservation board? Is that enough time? You want to do it?
We can certainly put under, why don't we include it under your update
Sure.
as a regular item?
Sure.
Any updates, any progress?
Sure.
Okay,
Very good.
do we have
I make a
Motion
motion that we
to adjourn.
adjourn.
motion's been made twice to adjourn?
Second.
Seconded once. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed.